Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming, especially all our audience and our esteemed speakers, Brother John, Brother Rabbi, and Brother Lekwe. And today's topic is on should religion adapt to accommodate changes in society? So that's the topic at hand on our experts today. And if anybody hasn't switched off the phone, please switch off your phone. And the fire exits are one over this side and one towards the door we came from. So without too much delay, we can have our first expert give us their opinion on the topic today. Brother Lekwe.
Come here. Stay here.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
What I'm going to say today is my own opinion, right? Maybe I'm wrong, maybe right? You can judge yourself, but I'm telling about my own opinion, what I will say. In our Sikhism, the code of conduct, which is written in religion, is never can be amended, right? Either society says something, either tradition says something, either custom says something. But society can change tradition and custom, but religion never ever changes. And what is written in there is concrete. The Punjabi can there pathar di lakir is concrete, right? We can't change anything, a single word in the code of conduct in the Guru Granth Sahib. And in my opinion, we can't change religion either. That's my own opinion about it, plus that I understand through my own family. And there's two things, society, custom, and tradition, three things actually. And that's the first thing is like, we can say, custom and tradition are nearly same. Custom can be practiced, I believe, that has been practiced by individual or a group of long time. When a custom transfers from generation to generation, it takes the form of tradition. Custom is a common way of doing things. It is something that people do and have done for a long time. Usually the people come from the same country, culture, religion. Many custom are things that people do that are handed down to the past. In tradition reinforces values such as freedom, faith, integrity, a good education, personal responsibility, strong work ethic, and the value of being selfless. Tradition provides from a showcase role model and celebrate things that really matter in life. Traditions are important in building strong family relationship between generations. Traditions are stories, beliefs, ritual, and custom, and passed from the generation to the next. Being a part of the special things our family does help us to have that sense of belonging. Change always happens, but change can highly inconvenience and strange for many of us. The world has always been changing, but many of us are concerned with the speed changes in recent years, which they feel as highly rapid. In our society, there's a lot of other things changing. It's like mixed marriages. That can't be in the religion. It is society. Like Sikh boys married to Gujarati woman and Hindu woman, or Muslim boys married to Gujarati woman and Sikh woman. These are the society that can be acceptable, but religion doesn't accept these things. That's all I want to say. That's my opinion about this topic today. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't introduce Sister Sidra. She's in the panel. She wasn't there, so my eyes missed it. So we've got Islamic scholar later.
So the angle that we will look at this from is, we first of all really do need to define what religion actually is. And there are two possibilities. One of them is that it is man's makeup of how he sees his spiritual heights, and so how he sees his relationship with his Godhead. So, religion, if it is just man's moral height, if society changes, then man's attitudes will change, and so it will be obvious that his religion will change. Let's look at yesterday, just for a little example. The Vatican brought out a letter from the Pope saying male and female, he created them. And the Vatican assures that gender is something that you are given, not something you can choose. And it's very simple, do excuse my language, but you can take someone's clothes off and you can tell if they're male or female, because that's how they're made. He has been heavily criticised, particularly one man called Francis de Bernardo, who's director of the Maryland-based New Ways Ministry. And he says, sorry, Your Holiness, but you are seriously ill-informed. Because we know from society that gender is not solely determined by the look of your body. It's by your experiences, your genetics, your hormones, your brain chemistry, the way you actually feel. If somebody would have said that 25 years ago, you'd have locked them up. Now, they want to lock the Pope up for saying that if you've got certain genitalia, you're a man or a woman. So what we have here now is a demand for religion to change, because we think differently. Are we right or are we wrong? The other side of the story is that religion is not created by man as a way of interacting with his God or her God. It is exactly the opposite way around. It's made by God, and God says, this is how I need you to react with me. This is the pinnacle of godliness. Now, you're never going to get there. You're never going to achieve it. But you're not meant to achieve it. What you're meant to do in life is try to achieve it. There is no biblical character who's achieved it. Every biblical character I can think of has fallen by the wayside, done something wrong, committed some sort of sin or another. No, name me a biblical character and they've done something wrong. They've got something not quite right. And the point is, well, nobody can. Because the only being that can get things perfect, right? God. So what you're supposed to do is, in every way in life, you're supposed to try and achieve your godliness. There's a brilliant thought at the end of the book of Genesis, when Jacob is dying and he's choosing a successor for himself. All his 12 sons get different things. And the rabbis say, that's not fair. It's not a level playing field. The tribe of Asher are given the most beautiful piece of land in Israel that grows the most exquisite delicacies. Issachar gets a much larger piece of land, but all they get to grow is potatoes and olives and wheat, the basics. It's as if one son is told, you will be managing director of Lidl, and the other one is told, you will be managing director of Fortnum and Mason. It's not fair. Why are they not all equal? And so one of the rabbis says, well, let's find out who's actually got the best deal of them all. And he says the son with the best deal is the one who's got enough time to come home at night and play. He's got enough time to come home at night and watch telly. Doesn't use those words. What's that all about? You see, it's simple. The person who's most blessed is the one who can go out to work, come back home from work, and have spent his day living with God. Not studying God in the books, not sitting in his synagogue and praying and studying and learning, but in the real world, see nature and see God in nature. He's the luckiest one. Now he's got the hardest job, he's got the worst land, but he's got the greatest opportunity to appreciate God and to work with God all the time. That's what your religion is all about. Now, if our religion is that ancient that it means nothing in modern society, is it any wonder that people think that we're all nuts because we are so devoted to our religion? We're like cavemen, we're archaic, you know, we're getting to the real world, for goodness sake, you lot. Is our religion not supposed to be living in the real world? So, living in the modern world? And so do we not therefore have to adapt our religion to be able to live in the modern world? You know, the oldest story in the book, my congregants come up to me and they say, they didn't have cars in the Bible. Why can you tell me I'm not allowed to drive my car on the Sabbath? And I tell them, your religion's got nothing to do with the car. It's got to do with transport. It's got to do with the principle of you stepping back from the everyday life of all the mod cons that you've invented and accepting God, even in this world full of invention, as being superior to you. Now let me ask you a question. What can God do that we can't? Exactly. Not an awful lot. We can kill, he can kill. We can create people, he can create people. We can invent things, he can invent things. She, it. That's another one, please. Can we have a topic be called What's God's Gender? Because it's going to be brilliant. So, you know, we can do as much as what God can do. God can't do much more than we can. So what's this God thing all about? This God thing, excuse my expression, it sounds very heretical, is all about us realizing that we are partners in this world with God. That it's only through us that God actually gets godliness created and spirituality into this world. But we assume to take a back seat from him, her, it, and allow ourselves to be inferior to God. And that's not a matter of weakness, it's a matter of strength. It takes a lot of strength to turn around to someone else and say, go on, you be in charge. Well, I think I know a lot more than you. Well, I think I've been around a lot more than you. Well, I think I'm more capable than you. You're going to be in charge today. It takes a lot of strength to do that. But this is what we do. On that one day of the week, we let God take charge. So, in order to live our religion day by day, it has to, at some point or other, accommodate modern life. So we have to know, can we use all the gadgets that modern life has given us? Are we allowed to do something like put somebody's life at risk in order to save them? You know, can you take a knife and stick it into someone's stomach and go, or can you not? If you're a criminal, you can, but if you're a surgeon, it's John. What we have to remember is that religion doesn't have to give in to modern society. It doesn't have to say, because it's now the 21st century, we'll let you do what you like. I have never understood this thing that says, you know, because we're in the 21st century, we should allow certain things to happen, or people to do what they want. Why is it that we're still breaking taboos? Why did we not say 100 years ago that everybody do what they like? It's the 20th century. Why is it we said they can do that, but they can't do that? We've still got taboos that we're still breaking now. Yeah? The LGBT community, let's take them as a fine example. In the 1960s, they were still being put in jail. Why did nobody say, oi, it's the 1960s, let them do what they want? But now we're going, it's 2019, let them do what they want. What's the last 60 years done? Genuine religion will say absolutely nothing. So letting religion adapt to society doesn't mean that you let people do what they like. It means that you have to take the principles of your religion and have them meaningful in today's world. Because we do things differently. So a very simple example. I'm afraid we're going to lose our coinage in about the next 50 years. We're not going to have paper money left anymore. I don't want to be cards. But if you take a look in the Talmud from beginning to end, everything about doing business is dealing with money. It's dealing with checks. How will we assume religious law when we've only got credit cards? Or when we've only got computers? And I'll tell you what the problem is. We have this subject called kinyan. It's acquiring something, taking possession of something. How do you take possession of something? Well, it depends what it is. But if you're now going to change society so that there's no such thing as money, so that you can no longer take possession of something when you pay for it, because you've handed over your 20 quid. How do you take possession of something? How do you take possession of something when you give somebody a credit card and you've not paid for it yet until the end of the month? Do you own it just now? In the real world, you need to, or else you're bang in trouble. So therefore, we're going to have to change. How do you strike a deal with someone? In this world, you shake hands. Yeah. Now, if you go to the stock exchange and you buy and sell shares, they never ever shake hands. Never. It only works by word of mouth. Someone says 1,000 shares in M&S, someone says 1,000 in M. Done. That's the deal sorted. No money has changed hands, no hands have been shaken, but there has to be a legal way of making that sale binding. And so in the Talmud we have to have a change of how the buying and selling works, so that you can actually live in the real world. So one of the oldest changes that religion had to offer was, because we live in different countries and there are different ways and means of doing things, the Talmud has to have this great maxim: go out into the market and see how people are behaving. Then you know how to buy and sell things. So people are deciding the rules and regulations of commerce. And it's changed from one place to the other because people work in different ways in different countries. The same thing works when we have new inventions. Can we use them? When can we use them? Are we allowed to use them? Do they fit in with the principles of our religion? You see, I'm sure you as Muslims have the same problem we do. We have this terrible thing called translation. And it doesn't work. Because the Bibles that we use now were translated from Hebrew to Greek to Arabic, back to Latin, back to Greek, and then into English. And you cannot translate something like that. So what people will tell you that in Judaism there are 613 commandments. There are not. There are 613 principles of law. And the principles can be interpreted to suit whichever society you are living in and whichever era you are living in. So does religion accommodate changes in society? You can either say it has to, or you can say actually it's quite the opposite. That all changes in society are already accommodated in religion. You just got to go look and find them. But they're there. And that's how you can have a living religion that works for today. The difference, as I've said before, and I keep saying it, accommodating society doesn't mean you can say, okay, you can do what you like now. Or we'll do away with the law that we used to have. You don't do away with any law at all. You just adapt the principle to the topic that you're talking about. And of course, and this is happening as we speak, because as more inventions are coming up, and as new models of machines are being made, everything is changing all the time. But the principles by which we determine whether or not we can do something on a certain day in the week, or use a certain machine, or how we will have to use it, There you go.
Thank you very much. So, thank you, Brother Lee, for sharing with us a nice and detailed explanation of your view. And now we have Sister Sandra Lane, who's a teacher and scholar, so I'll pass it over to her to give her contribution for up to 15-20 minutes. And last but not least, Brother John.
Okay, should religion adapt to accommodate the changes in society? This is actually a topic I participated in over 13 years ago at the very university where I'm working now. So it's quite amazing what life changes have happened to me since 13 years. Did I know at that time that I would actually end up working in the same place where I gave this lecture, which is really interesting. This talk is in two parts. The first part is why the religion should stay the same with a changing society, which is the concept within Islam. And then the second part is what happens to the society if religion changes with it. What actually happens. So let us look at Islam. Now if we look at this chart, whenever a religion has come, society has always been corrupted and gone against the religion and changed. And at each stage, God has sent another prophet, another messenger, and a new book as well. Some of these major prophets have brought new books with them as well at each stage to put everybody back onto the right path again. Because this is the reason why God sends new prophets at different times. And the message is exactly the same. Each book which comes, did you know, has also got the law incorporated inside that book. If you look at the Torah, I know I've had a conversation with you before, you look at the Old Testament, Sharia law is in there. And you look at the Quran, Sharia law is in the Quran as well. So the law of the land comes with the book. And that book has everything that you need, basically, to live your life. Everything. The last book at the end that we believe came was the Quran. And that basically happened right at the end. We know that when the nation gets corrupted again, then we are waiting for Jesus to come. He will then re-establish all the original laws again when he comes. And when it gets really bad after that, we know that will be the end of the world anyway. The day of judgment will then come. So, basically, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, brought the last message so far, which is what we are living by. And if the society gets changed, it is us as people that change the world. But the word of God stays the same throughout time. So the Quran was the complete record of the exact words revealed by God through the angel Gabriel to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And those words are unchanged since 1400 years. And some people say that those words need to change now, we need to move on. But did you know that God has written the Quran in such a way that they can't be changed? Did you know that if we threw all the Qurans in the water, there are Imams who have memorized the Quran word for word in such a way that all the words then can come back again. And we know that the words have definitely not changed. If you go right back in time, this is the earliest piece of bone that we have, a camel bone, and it's got Surah Fatiha written on it. And then if we look at the latest old Quran we found recently, which was actually in Birmingham University when somebody attacked the Quran, and there it was magic, like a Quran appeared from Uthman's time, and it was exactly the same as nowadays. You open the Quran and it's exactly the same word of God. And basically there is no book in the history of mankind that has lasted for 1400 years without a word, even a letter changing. And some people claim that the Quran has been changed as new scientific discoveries were discovered, but it is actually historically proven the Quran is preserved in its original language. Not a single word of its 114 chapters has been changed over centuries. Did you know that in our Quran, God himself has said that he will actually preserve that Quran and it will not change. And it hasn't changed, which is a miracle. And did you know that there are so many reasons why that Quran has not changed? Does anybody know some reasons why that Quran hasn't changed, even though some people might have even attempted to? Hands up if you've got any ideas. Nasreen?
It's because it's read in the original language it was revealed in.
Good. We read it in its original language. I'm glad the rabbi brought up about the other book he was saying, which went into Greek and then Latin and then back into English, all of that. You do lose some of the words because Arabic is in such a language that there are certain words in the Quran that you don't even have a translation in another language. It doesn't exist. One word means 3 or 4 things. Did you know? I mean, some of my lectures, you see the Quranic writing and it's like 1 line, and you see the English translation, there's like 5, 6 lines. That's because even one word in Arabic means 3 or 4 things. You translate that and the whole meaning goes of the whole Quran. That's just the way it is. Any other reasons why it hasn't been changed? There's another very important one. Anybody?
It won't have the same meaning.
Yes, I said that already. Anything else? What about the rhyme and the rhythm? Okay, say we translated it into English, you might be able to find a word that means the same, but it doesn't mean that every word that you use is going to rhyme and mean the same, does it? So the rhyming and the rhythm is absolutely amazing. One word out of that sentence and it's not going to rhyme anymore. So that is what I mean by it not being corrupting. Each word that is used in its precise place and cannot be moved or exchanged for a close synonym without its beauty or meaning being lost. The Quran has a unique sentence structure and rhythm that sets it apart from both prose and poetry, sometimes resembling one more than the other, but never being completely one or the other. The sentences use the smallest number of words without losing any necessary meaning. In other words, they are concise, which adds to their beauty, while at the same time they convey all that needs to be conveyed. There is a perfect balance as well as consistency in style between emotional and intellectual passages of the Quran. Draz noted that this beauty can only truly be found in the Quran. That was a person who investigated the Quran. And the Quran is the last revealed word of God. Quran is not just a book, it is actually God talking to us, it's guiding us. I don't know if any sisters have been in times of trouble, but I have been in a time when I was really upset about something, and I opened the Quran and God was consoling and saying, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. People, only God knows what's in your hearts. And God knows what's troubling you. So try it. If you're ever in any problems, open the Quran. It is honestly like God is actually talking to you. It's absolutely amazing. And God actually answers your Quran, your answers by reading it. And that doesn't mean whether you are 1400 years ago or whether it's nowadays. No matter what time you're in. The Quran is written for all times. All times. Some people say that the Quran, which was written 1400 years ago, how can you put that in nowadays context? You know, it's an old-fashioned book. But first of all, don't forget, it is us. We are the ones who change society. We are the ones who change time. We are the ones who make the world modern. But God's word stays the same throughout time. And did you know that the Quran has got guidelines in it for each and every time? It's got guidelines in it for different types of people, poor and rich, black and white, different social classes. No matter where you are in the world, that Quran can still be read in that context. And some people say times have changed, but like I said, it is us who change the times. And did you know that the problems that we had 1400 years ago are still there today? Human nature does not change. God made humans. And did you know, even now, when you investigate humans, The science of attraction is still the same. All our roles in society, the way Allah has made us, the way God has made us to suit us for each role is still there today. Men still have tunnel vision because they were made to hunt animals. Women still have peripheral vision because they are there to look around and look after all their children. Okay? And all the other traits, all the hormones that are there, the loving and caring nature of women is still there. That was there 1400 years ago because God made humans and nature does not change. Human nature doesn't change throughout time. You can make the world as modern as you like. Like I said, all those traits, the roles, all of that kind of stuff is still exactly the same. So yes, God wrote the Quran for human beings, and human beings, they do not change no matter what era they are in, whether they want to be good or whether they want to be bad. So the Quran was the beginning of divine revelation leading to a new era. Laws and values are from heaven, not earth. He knows us the best. The way of life as per divine guidance, not human desires. That bit I'm going to come to in a minute when I get onto the politics and parliament. They are long-term, not short-term. So society changes throughout time, but we have been told the Quran is right up to the Day of Judgment. So it can be used for any time, according to God. They are permanent guidelines and solutions, not temporary. They address all human beings, like I said, in all parts of the world, whether you're rich or poor, black and white, educated or uneducated, whether you're from a city or whether you're from a village, whether you're from Romford, whether you're from Brentwood. They address all aspects of life. There is not a single answer in your life, whether the society has changed or not, that you cannot get from the Quran, either from all the morals of all the stories that are in the Quran, or from all the examples that have been given, or straightforward where God has told us what to do. And the guidelines are for the entire world, not a region or country. That is something that was different for Islam. It wasn't just for the lost sheep of Israel. That actually word was there for everybody, the whole world. And guidelines from the Creator who knows man like no other. And I love that one the best. God knows our weaknesses. He's the one who made us. So He has given us guidelines according to what we are, what our nature is. And not only that, on top of that, we have also got the hadiths. The hadiths of, which are the practice and example of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the second source of inspiration and instruction for Muslims. The belief in the Sunnah is part of the Islamic faith, and the Prophet's Sunnah and sayings were documented by his contemporaries and are known as hadith. Now, a lot of people in my job, my current job as a Muslim chaplain, I work in a university, and all the students are living modern lives. You tell me who's living in the old era, modern lives. They will ask me questions. Well, what about this situation? I'm in this situation at the moment. What do you think of this? With people of knowledge, they can definitely adapt according to modern situation, the rules of the Quran and all the hadiths, the Prophet's stories, all of those examples, you can adapt it to nowadays. There is not a single answer that I have ever not been able to give, actually. Because somewhere you can find the answer. That's what a job of a scholar is to do, is to look into the religion and know the answer. And straight away I can say, well, the Prophet did this, and in this example you shouldn't do this. Or, you know what, you should do this, because in the Quran it tells you this. Okay, so it can be adapted, definitely can be for nowadays. And then, now we need to also, this is very, very important, nobody has looked into this topic, but did you know that the religion and politics and parliament were exactly all the same in the olden days? So the rules by which the land was being governed was exactly the same as the religion. You just need to go to the London dungeons and you will see the laws that are outside the London dungeons about how the criminals are killed is all there. According to Parliament, it was exactly what was in the Bible. If you steal a piece of bread, you chop their hands off. That's Sharia law. Okay? If they kill, you kill them. Sharia law. I've been there and I looked at all of them and go, oh my God, that's Sharia law. That's in the Quran. That's in the Quran. The Parliament was exactly the same as what was in the scriptures. But did you know that over time, the whole world, politics has separated from the religion? Why? Because of greed and extra votes and land and money and power, manly power especially. I know that actually from Theresa May myself, because when I met her, she told me she was oppressed. She said Parliament's full of men and they call her a stupid old woman, and we know that from recently Corbyn came out with that one in public, didn't he? So it's true. So why is religion decreasing more and more in the society? I see this the most in secondary schools. When I visit secondary schools, I come across all the children and they're all humanists. This is the modern day culture. The biggest change is when religion separated from Parliament in this country. This country started it. Did you know that the Queen is head of Church of England and Parliament is separate? So they make their own laws. And all the countries, did you know, are becoming more and more secular. What we need to remember is parliamentary laws are man-made. They are based on power, more votes, land, money, greed. When I'm looking at more votes, you mentioned LGBT. Did you know why LGBT was included in Parliament? For more votes, to get more votes. That's why it was included. And so religious laws are God-made laws who know humans the best and know what is good for them. But the problem with parliamentary laws is that they are man-made, completely man-made. We know this for sure. Before the 60s, did you know that in the law, in parliamentary law, it said everybody had to go to church on Sundays? Since the law has changed, what's happened? Religion has gone downhill. Who goes to church nowadays? Women had to wear a hat in church. Did you know that was part of the law up to the 1960s in Britain? And everybody dressed modestly. As soon as the law went in the 60s, what happened? Miniskirt came out. Okay? So all of this is very important. Religion has decreased ever since these things have gone, and Parliament has adapted more to the changes of society, and the religion has gone. Once religious boundaries go due to greedy man-made laws, there is no going back. It is so difficult then to go back again. We did a topic, a very interesting one here a couple of months ago, which was on religious schools. And we concluded from that on the whole that more and more children are going to religious schools nowadays. The reason is because of the government. The government, for example, has introduced government laws to do with including LGBT to increase its votes, and that has caused huge problems in faiths like Judaism and Catholicism and within Islam, where in the religion it talks about the story of Sodom and Gomorrah and Prophet Lot, and the parents are flabbergasted by this, so now they're sending their children to faith schools because they don't like what the government is saying at all. On the whole in society, parents are actually advised in their religion to raise their children well and properly, a happy home, comfort, care and love, providing the necessities of life and good education, good manners and character are some of the responsibilities that parents are required to fulfill. And one of the ways this can be achieved is by introducing religion to a child at an early age. Social morals come from religion. All children need general guidance on right and wrong, and once the child develops undesirable habits and unethical values, it becomes extremely difficult to make the child into a good person. This does not mean forcing religion on children. This is different. Once the child reaches puberty, then they are free to choose whichever path they may follow, but at least a parent then has done their duty and done as much as they can, because as parents we will be asked on the Day of Judgment that what did we do in bringing up our children in the right religion. In today's world, people are increasingly drifting away from religion and God. I personally feel that religion helps to regulate our conduct and behaviour in society by providing a set of good morals and value system for human existence. Some people may argue that these morals are naturally within us, even without having a faith or believing in God. I believe that it is God that originally gives us that sense of what is right and wrong when He made us, our souls. However, God has also given us free will to choose between right and wrong as a test, and man needs constant reminders to stay on the right path, hence needing religion. Religious guidance is very important in our actions in life, putting a check on criminal tendency in human nature. Most religions believe that we justify actions to God and God will judge the morality of others. So this is also a topic we've done in the past, that what does our faith believe in the afterlife? And a lot of the religions believe that we have to answer to God on the Day of Judgment. And that helps to keep the religion in society, because whatever we do, we fear Allah, that what we're going to do when we go up to Him, what we're going to answer to Him, and what if we do end up in the hellfire, then what? So we try our best, strive our best so that we can stay on the heaven part of that. I also believe that a true religion will ensure peaceful coexistence, love and harmony amongst human beings. Some people may argue that why is it then that war and conflict exists in places where religion is being followed? I get this all the time. My view is that if religion is being practiced properly, there will be no war and conflict, as no religion actually teaches this. With centuries of conflict between differing religions and philosophical ideals, there is a way to bring them together to utilize the best of each to most benefit society by looking at similarities in religion, not differences. And I have definitely achieved this in my mission out there. I've had BNP people hating me, and then when I talk to them about the similarities, I end up converting one last year. So all religions stem from each other, promoting peace and harmony. They all ban killing. Tell me what religion allows killing and discrimination of race, creed and colour, and teach the same message which should bring together all societies so they can live in peace and harmony with each other. Religion provides good governance of society and good care of its citizens. True religion, did you know, protects the human rights of everyone and prevents their violation. True religion ensures social justice, equality and security for all its adherents. Religion plays an important part in modern society. Religion keeps our feet firmly on the ground and provides good moral guidance, even though we are in a modern, fast-moving technological world, resulting in hectic and stressful lifestyles. Religion also addresses all aspects of life and ensures balance in life, where negative social influences can be increasingly disruptive, especially nowadays, immoral and corruptive for the mind. I'm thinking of pornography here, which is something modern in our society, which is really big out there. Religion prevents us from being carried away by tides of the times, because a true religion has an eternal value system and has long-term solutions, not short-term. I believe it is us that makes the world modern, but religion stays the same throughout time. Each time a religion has appeared, the message is always the same. Following a faith is a way of life per divine guidance, not human desires, and is guidance from the Creator who knows man like no other. Now, another one is prayer. Now, this is very important. Did you know the world is more and more becoming richer, especially in England? Tell me who has got everything. Everyone has got everything. They've got food, they've got money, they've got shelter, they've got clothing. So why do we need to even bother praying? This is why the poor part of the world, they pray more, they're more religious, because they're the ones who need things. So we have so much nowadays due to us making the world modern. Why do people even bother me to even pray anymore? Did you know, as a science of self-improvement, religious offers a therapeutic and success-orientated lifestyle, a victorious way of life. Religion prevents deterioration of the mind due to dehumanization and desensitization caused by highly mechanized modern living, thus providing stability. Religion ensures a happy, holy, healthy mind in a healthy body. All forms of prayer is proven to result in calm and peace. There are numerous studies suggesting that anxiety and depression is high amongst people who do not pray. Near death, did you know that I work also in a hospice, and near to death, a huge majority of people tend to revert back to their faiths as it provides solace and hope for an afterlife. So in conclusion, my viewpoint is that religion should be incorporated into the machinery of the state's decision-making process, like it was in the beginning. There was less problems then, and everything was driven according to what God wanted, and society changed less as well. It's since the religion has separated from Parliament that the society then has changed and got corrupted because of man-made laws. This is what is changing the society. So with religious laws, they are laws and values from heaven, not earth, and they are as per divine guidance, not man-made. They are permanent guidelines, not temporary, and religious laws cannot be reversed even by a parliamentary decision. Religion also addresses all types of human beings, black and white, rich and poor, educated, uneducated, and the laws are unlikely to discriminate others. E.g., there is no Holocaust or ethnic cleansing in any religion. Okay, and Brexit doesn't exist, does it, in any religion either? Whereas parliamentary decisions can lead to discrimination of religions and colour. In countries where religion is part of the state, did you know that the levels of crime are very low, hence there is overall benefit? Now I know what you're all going to say. She's ISIS, she's the Taliban. But before you report me as ISIS or a Taliban, I would also like to make it clear that we as Muslims have to follow the law of the land that we live in. So if the law in this country says is not in conjunction with the Quran or with the Old Testament, fine, we have to follow that law, okay? But with anybody who comes into Islamic countries, they are allowed to set up their own law systems in our countries. That's how good our religion is. So in conclusion, yes, I think law should be part of the Parliament. I think it should all be the same, which it was originally. The Queen used to govern the land, and they were Church of England or Catholicism, yes? But it's since all this has happened that problems have started. But like I said, again, we have to follow the law of the land, and I do want that said quite clearly before I am already being monitored by MI5, so I don't want to get into any trouble. Okay, so that brings me to the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Someone's been monitoring MI5 there.
Yeah, they're in trouble. No MI5, don't worry about them.
Okay. Thank you, Sister. Talk, and last but not least, Brother John Lester, who's going to speak for us. And
okay, I've divided this into three sections: disapproving, initiating, and science. Now, recently, the Baha'is had a letter from the Universal House of Justice, which is the highest body in the Baha'i faith. It says, as the present century opened, new challenges began to loom. With time, these intensified, leading to a retreat from the promising steps forward with which the previous century had closed. Today, many of the dominant currents in societies everywhere are pushing people apart, not drawing them together. Even as global poverty of the most extreme form has decreased, political and economic systems have enabled the enrichment of small coteries with grossly exorbitant wealth, a condition that fuels fundamental instability in world affairs. The interactions of the individual citizen, governing institutions and society as a whole are often fraught, as those arguing for the primacy of one or the other show more and more intransigence in their thinking. Religious fundamentalism is warping the character of communities, even nations. The failings of so many organisations and institutions of society have understandably led to a decline in public trust, but this has been systematically exploited by vested interests seeking to undermine the credibility of all sources of knowledge. Certain shared ethical principles, which seem to be in the ascendant at the start of this century, are eroded, threatening the prevailing consensus about right and wrong that in various arenas had succeeded in holding humanity's basest tendencies in check. And the will to engage in international collective action, which 20 years ago represented a powerful strain of thinking among world leaders, has been cowed, assailed by resurgent forces of racism, nationalism and factionalism. So, no, we don't want to accommodate ourselves to that, do we? The question about accommodating to change in society is, what are the changes we're having to accommodate ourselves to? If you went back to the 1950s, it was perfectly in order for someone to put on their window, if they were letting a room, no blacks, no Irish. You couldn't do that today. That, I would suggest, is a positive change in society. But Bahá'u'lláh said that the current world order is lamentably defective. Baha'is have a word for it, the old world order. The Shoghi Effendi, the guardian of the Baha'i faith, talked of three false prophets: nationalism, communism and racialism, whose altars people bow and so on. So many of the changes in society we reject. Most religions and the Baha'i faith among them say sex is for marriage. Its primary purpose is procreation. Nature tells us that, even if some people dispute it. So sex only within marriage. But in the Baha'i faith we change a little bit. The couple have to find each other, and then their natural parents approve. There is no arranged marriages. Most of the people follow what most of the people do. The sort of peer pressure. So most of our society drinks alcohol. Baha'i faith bans alcohol. It weakens the brain, said Baha'u'lláh. And in 1968, scientists discovered that alcohol kills brain cells which do not reproduce. Science caught up with religion. The Baha'i faith bans gambling. This would be all very familiar to Muslims. The norm today is cremation. But Baha'u'lláh says that we should be buried because, if I get the right page, the body of man, which has been formed gradually, must similarly be decomposed gradually. This is according to the real and natural order and divine law. If it had been better for it to be burned after death, in its very creation, it would have been so planned that the body would automatically become ignited after death, be consumed and turned into ashes. But the divine order is that after death, this body shall be transferred from one stage to another, different from the preceding one, so that according to the relations which exist in the world, it may gradually combine and mix with other elements, thus going through stages until it arrives in the vegetable kingdom, thus turning into plants and flowers, and so on. In other words, it decomposes naturally in the earth, and it then naturally spreads. One of the greatest prohibitions in the Baha'i faith is gossip and backbiting, which is not absent from today's society. You can see it all the time. Baha'u'llah taught of a cancerous materialism in society. He talked about gold and the love of gold. And he says, O son of man, thou dost wish for gold, and I desire thy freedom from it. So, there are a lot of the changes in society we do not accept. There are also norms in religion which are changed in the Baha'i faith. There is no priesthood. There is no confession. There is no congregational prayer except for the dead. But there are changes in society that we would accept. Blood donors, for example, blood transfusions. There is nothing in the Baha'i writings to go against that. How about organ transplants? There's nothing in the Baha'i writings to go against that. But the body must be treated with the utmost dignity at all times. Baha'u'llah gave us leave to wear the clothes we wish to, but warned us not to become playthings of the ignorant, and to bear in mind the idea of modesty at all times. But there's another difference here, is between religion and culture. Many times we say we apply religion and we're actually applying culture. An example is this idea of modesty in dress. In the Solomon Islands, it is normal in the back villages for the women to go topless. No one takes any notice whatsoever. It's part of the culture, and it means it's much easier to feed the baby. That is modesty. If we say it's not modesty, we're applying our own cultural norms to another culture. Didn't bother me in the least, although Barbara was distracted apparently. Baha'u'llah praised, from party politics, Baha'u'llah praised Queen Victoria on two counts. First, she had done away with slavery. And it took a long while to do that. William Wilberforce was trying desperately to get it done. Secondly, he said to Queen Victoria, we have also heard that thou hast entrusted the reins of counsel into the hands of the representatives of the people. Thou indeed hast done well, for thereby the foundations of the edifice of thine affairs will be strengthened, and the hearts of all that are beneath thy shadow, whether high or low, will be tranquilized. It behoveth them, however, to be trustworthy among his servants, and to regard themselves as the representatives of all that dwell on earth. I'm not quite sure to what extent that happens now. And Baha'is are told that party politics is actually divisive, and if we vote in an election, we vote on the merits of the individual candidate, not the party. So secondly, initiation. We have racial equality now. Didn't that come from the influence of religion? We have sexual equality now. Oh, well, we're approaching it. That comes from the influence of religion. These are both things in the Baha'i faith. In 1912 in America, a black Baha'i married a white Baha'i lady. Abdu'l-Baha was present to bless them ceremony. Well, that's not unusual now. That's a norm, almost a norm in society now. That was initiated by religion. That is clearly something we go by. We have freedom of religion. We can investigate religions. We can join which religion we like. We are not bound to follow the religion in which we were born. I'm an example. I was born in Church of England. I joined the Baha'i faith. Searching for truth is the right of every human being on the planet. How about the National Health Service? Are we happy to go along with that? That surely is part of religion. The sick should not suffer because they're sick. The United Nations, the Baha'i faith is a non-governmental organisation, the United Nations. That's surely something we should approve of, trying to get people together. And then you have science. The Baha'i faith says science and religion go hand in hand. When you have religion too strong, you have superstition. And people like Galileo find themselves in big trouble. When science is too strong, you've hydrogen bombs produced and all kinds of horrors like that. Science's discoveries means that you sometimes have to reinterpret. Baha'u'llah says, for example, the fact there is no evidence of people before Adam does not prove they did not exist. So Baha'is accept the Genesis story of creation as being allegorical, as having many, many spiritual meanings, but not being literal. And of course science has now proved that the earth is not 4,000, 6,000 years old, but many, many millions of years old, and dinosaurs and so on. So we have to adapt to that. But it's not a matter of adapting, it's a matter of thinking about the scriptures, and we should constantly think about the scriptures and constantly be willing to develop our understandings. Baha'u'llah also says there is life elsewhere in the universe. We're not the only ones. And it's interesting, science came up with this idea of the Big Bang. In the beginning was the bang. The difference between in the beginning was the bang and in the beginning was the word is, as far as I can see, nothing. If you ask a scientist, what was there before the Big Bang, he'll say nothing, which sounds strange because nothing created the entire universe. If you look in the scriptures, what does that say there was before God created the universe? The answer is nothing. So science and religion agree on that. There is, in fact, no such thing as stasis. We're always moving, always advancing. Something's always changing in us. Our own bodies tell us that. Our body's never the same as it was yesterday. Unfortunately, it's not improving. Baha'u'llah talks of the Satan of self. No, there isn't a separate devil with a subterranean physical kingdom. The devil is your ego. The devil is yourself that's tempted. So we have the developments. Religion progresses from age to age, and the social laws develop a bit. It's safe now to eat pork. It wasn't at all safe to eat pork in the deserts of Arabia or Israel a thousand years ago or so, and so it was banned. Now it's safe, so Baha'u'llah has lifted the ban. So it depends whether the changes in society are in accordance with religion or against them. And if they're against them, obviously we ignore them completely. But you have people saying, I don't think we should watch television because it doesn't say you can in the Bible or the Quran. Well, television isn't bad per se. It's the way it's used. I think that's it.
Thank you, John. If the speakers have got anything else to add, if not, we can enjoy some food now? Yes. It's time for food and then we'll come refreshed and ready for questioning our speakers. Thank you very much. Food is ready in here. So we'll start our question and answer session to our expert speakers, and if you can get your questions together, you can put them onto the panel. Okay, we've got first question here.
There are lots of issues taking place in society nowadays, like mixed marriages, LGBT. Council of Ex-Muslims, and they're encouraging people to leave their religions, okay? Religion is not going to change because it holds sacred value for a lot of people who actually still believe in it. How can these people be brought back to religion? I mean, should they be told like they should be God-fearing and you know, like what the afterlife holds for them? Something like that? Or?
Okay, I think, like I said earlier in my talk, Parliament is the only way, to be honest with you. So going through Parliament is the only way, through the state system. Yeah, so going through the Parliament is the best way. Basically, religion needs to come from the country. It's when the state says different things that's what changes society. So, for example, when the state was going on about Brexit, racism increased. As soon as the state are good with Muslims, all of a sudden Islam's brilliant. So it's the society is changing because of the government that is ruling the country. That's what the problem is.
Any more comments from panel members is welcome as well.
I don't think you can, people have moved away from religion. There's a song by Leonard Cohen called Suzanne, and Jesus was a sailor when he walked upon the waters, and he spent a long time watching from his lonely wooden towers, and when he knew for certain only drowning men could see him. People suddenly think about religion when things are going bad. And it's an individual choice. Everyone has to have an independent search for truth. They need to know they need it. I suppose the main thing is to make sure it's out there, so they know it's there, so it's there for them to go back to if they've left it. And when they're drowning, maybe they'll go back to. But I don't think you can impose it on them or enforce it or do anything like that.
Thank you. One more comment from another panel member.
As you said, it's a mixed marriage, right? And actually, when the couple loves each other, right? And sometimes it's an Asian girl married to English man, and generally they convert into Sikh, like a Sikh woman married to English man generally convert into Sikh religion. That's I have seen so many times. There's a lot of English people adopting the Sikh religion as well. That is allowed. That's why mixed marriage is happening. And they go to university together, they study together, and they get in love in each other, and then when the parents they said, okay, you can marry, but it's our religion said this, and if they agree with that, they get married. That's happening in our religion. That I can say. That's a mixed marriage happening in our religion.
Can I just comment? So even with mixed marriages, there are guidelines. The mixed marriages guidelines are in the Quran, and we got the example of the Prophet according to Islam. So Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he did marry wives from different countries. We've got that example already, and it does tell you about that in the Quran as well, that you can marry wives from people of the book. Guidelines again are there for each and every situation that you are talking about. The LGBT situation is there already in the Quran, the whole story of Prophet Lot, Sodom and Gomorrah, all of that story is in the Quran for us to learn from. So the guidelines are all there in the religion. These are not new things, these are things that have been going on for centuries. Like I said in my talk, the problems we had 1400 years ago, they are still happening nowadays. Honestly, each and every one of them. Even slavery, I think you mentioned the other day, we've got modern slavery going on nowadays. That is the same as the slavery that was happening 1400 years ago. Might be called something different. Prostitution, is that not going on nowadays? You just need to go down Ilford Lane and it's going on in our own area. So all of those things are still going on nowadays. All of them.
Any more questions? Let's quiz our experts. Thank you, sir.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to comment on your presentation, Sidra. I really liked the fact that you talked about politics and how it's separated from religion. Hence the reason why we have an increase in social problems, I feel. The fact that religion and politics don't go together, we have an increase in gun crime, knife crime, children not listening to parents, parents not knowing how to parent anymore, the morals have gone. So do we need to emphasize religion and morals?
Yep, definitely. Again, all those things are actually in the Quran. It tells you very, very clearly about, you know, parenting, and it tells you, you know, for example, if your children don't pray up to the age of 10, then you can beat them lightly. It tells you that. It tells children to respect parents again and again and again. After God, it tells children to respect your parents next. So again, guidelines are there for the children as well. All these laws that are out there, you're not allowed to touch a child, or the children can call child line if, you know, the mum nags their children. These are all man-made laws. They're not Islamic laws. So again, you know, in each and every situation, I know we have to follow the law of the land, but in our own houses, I think that religion is very important for the good upbringing on the whole of children and for peace and harmony. The structure is there in the religion, in all the religions, if we follow it.
Any further questions from the floor? Yes, you're welcome.
My question is loosely related to what John Nestor said about donating organs. It's loosely related to the topic. In fact, I was just wondering what the other faiths, where they stand when it comes to donating organs and donating blood and bone marrow and other such things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Yes, in our religion you have authority to give. You have to write in your will when you die. You can be or donate your organ. That's you have to write in your will. Okay, that's in our religion.
And the blood donation?
Yeah, we do blood every now. But I do. My wife do. My wife got actually gold pin for the blood. Now she's diabetic. She can't give it anymore. And when she was just wasn't diabetic, and she got gold pin as well from the hospital, because I think they give you card, and they just so many times you give the blood, and they give you gold pin, and my wife got gold pin as well. Right? You can't give us blood.
For us, this is one of the problems of the development of science. And the Talmud says quite specifically that the definition of death is when the heart and lungs stop working. Now, if you ask any modern doctor, he'll tell you that in modern science there are actually 5 different definitions of death. And this is where we have a problem at the moment. There are those Talmudists who will stick to what the Talmud says, and those who will say, come on mate, science has now shown us something different. So, to organ donation, there is no greater kindness you can do to anyone than to save their life or improve their life. So, donating organs is actually probably one of the best things you can do to anyone. Do you know that every single person sitting in here could probably save the life of at least 7 people? At least. Just think about it. With blood, and marrows, and corneas, and livers, and kidneys, and hearts, and lungs, skin. The only problem we ought to have is heart transplants, because a heart has to still be pumping and alive when it's taken out of one body in order to put it into the other, because a dead heart doesn't rejuvenate itself. So effectively, to give someone a heart transplant, you have to kill one person in order to save another. And that we would find very, very problematic. Apart from that, we have this, I think it's an old granny's tale, if I may use a good Scottish expression. You know what an old granny's tale is? Good, right. So there's an old granny's tale that a person needs to be buried whole with their entire body, so that when they're resurrected, they'll be resurrected with their entire body. Our problem is we have at least 6 million people who will need to turn around and say, either you're not getting resurrected, mate, because you're now a bunch of ashes, or goodness knows what you're going to tell them. But there's still this old granny's tale that digs deep into the soul, and people are so reluctant to give organs. And the trouble is that in Israel, well, this is where the problem is now really becoming serious. Israel is one of the worst countries in the world for road deaths. I don't care how badly you think you drive in India, you do not know how to drive badly until you've been to Tel Aviv on a Friday afternoon and had to go the wrong way around a roundabout because somebody else coming the right way around the roundabout is just about to go into you. We have lost more people to road deaths per year than we have lost in every conflict from 1948 until now, put together. And the trouble is that the people we are losing are all young and all healthy, and mainly on motorbikes. So sorry to be gory about it, but they come into hospital and they're dead from the shoulders up. And from the shoulders down, you've got a young, healthy person lying in front of you with organs that could save half a dozen people. And we're desperate to use them. And the world banks are desperate to get a hold of them. And we are having an almighty row about whether or not we should do it. And so there are 2 schools of thought. One of them is, if you want to come back whole, you've got to go down whole, you don't touch them. And the other one is, if you can save lives, don't be so stupid, go save a life. and the amount of lives that could be saved is countless. But we have this tremendous raging argument that's been going on for at least 30 years. Blood donorship, absolutely no problem at all. Kidney donorship, no bother, you can survive with one kidney, you can give one away. Liver transplant, no bother at all, you can slice a piece off your liver, give it to someone else, it'll grow into a nice big liver, and they'll have one, and you'll have one, and off you go and live happily ever after. But to get people to actually do it is the most horrendous fight that we've ever faced. And now that this country is bringing in the opt-in, opt-out law, it's going to be even more of a problem. Because now you have to actually opt out of being an organ donor rather than opting in. But it's, to my personal opinion, if you can do it, you do it. The amount of people that whose lives you will save, whose lives you will make better. You know, and remember in the good old books, if you are the catalyst for someone else to do good, you get rewarded for that good. How much reward can you get in heaven of 7 other people living 20, 30, 40, 50 years and doing good thanks to the fact that you've given them a chance of life? It should be a no-brainer, excuse the pun. It should be an absolute no-brainer. But unfortunately, it is, and it's a raging argument that's been going on for years.
Okay, I'll answer that as I haven't answered yet. According to Islam, during your lifetime, if it is to save another person's life, then you can give away an organ which you have 2 of. For example, kidneys, you've got 2 of those, you can give one away, as long as it does not have an effect on your own health. So that's what the ruling is. And if it's to save another person's life, so in Islam, if you save one person's life, it's like saving the whole of mankind. After you die, there is a difference of opinion, and the problem with after death is that what we believe is that you can feel pain. And even when we do the bath before burial, we believe that you can even, feel the pain of, if, for example, you can't cut nails and things like that. So for that, there's a different ruling, and they say after death you shouldn't really do anything then. But during your lifetime, if it's not going to have an effect on your own health, and you have 2 of that item and can live with one, and the person who you are helping, you are saving their life, then they say it is okay.
But if you have an accident and you carry a donor card, they can take your organ then?
Yes, the donor card is basically there to accept that, yes, you want that to be done.
Can we do that?
Pardon?
Can we do that with Muslims?
Yes, but you could specify in that donor that I only want, for example, one of my eyes to go to somebody and only to save someone's death, and only if it's not going to affect my health.
But we don't need those organs when we resurrect, because it's the soul that's resurrected.
But the pain, when you die, you can feel the pain. You just have to go to the rulings of when you do ghusl before you die. And you're very gently, you have to rub them, and no cutting of nails, not allowed to comb their hair. They can feel everything once they die. So in that, the ruling is different. But while you're alive, it's okay, like I said, under the circumstances. I have actually been on a organ donation course, very big one, run by scholars, and that is what we learnt. I've looked into it myself in great detail as well.
Thank you very much. Masha, another question?
Just following on from that, I was just wondering about stem cell research, and there's a lot of cures in stem cell donation nowadays. For example, I know myself as a diabetic, there's a lot of research going on about growing stem cells in the pancreas. So can we donate stem cells?
Yes, you can. Stem cells is absolutely fine, it's not an organ. and you can replace stem cells again, and it's not going to have an effect on your health. That's absolutely fine. Also, donating blood is fine as well. So that's okay. Anything that you donate for scientific research, which is for the good of mankind, is absolutely fine, because that is, again, helping other people who are ill or helping save their lives, isn't it? So that's absolutely fine.
If there's no other questions, I'll ask one final question to the panel. Once I was with a VIP dignitary, I can't name who that was, and he said to me that religion, as it was when it was revealed thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago, it applied to the people at that time. Now, times are modern, and he was saying it doesn't. It was correct at the time of revelation, maybe. Just debating point. My quick answer off the top of my feet was, what confuses me is some of the signs in the holy books. For example, 3 or 4 words saying the universe is expanding. And I said to him, if you can explain to me how that got in there and is correct, then in my opinion, it's either all nonsense or it's all correct, and we may not understand it as much. So I wanted some opinions. Could I have answered that better?
Baha'i faith has a covenant. Baha'u'llah laid down that his eldest son Abdu'l-Baha should succeed him and be the exemplar and perfect interpreter of his writings, and Abdu'l-Baha applied Shoghi Effendi as the interpreter after him. They both all mentioned the administration, the Universal House of Justice, which is an elected body amongst the Baha'is and is now the world centre of the Baha'i faith, the world. They are the people who run the Baha'i faith. And they have the right to make laws on topics that have not been covered in the holy books. The laws they make, a further House of Justice can abrogate, but they can't touch the writings of Baha'u'llah. But it means that as modern as, if situations occur that have not been covered in the 19th century, the House of Justice can make a ruling about it. And a future House of Justice, given the circumstances then, can reduce it and take it away.
We have this custom that the Bible, as I said before, it doesn't lay down law. It lays down principles. Now, it may be written in an allegorical way that ancient man would have understood, but that gives us the opportunity to change the allegories so that we can exchange cows and bulls for tractors and buses and lorries. But the principles always remain the same. And that in that way, the Bible is always timeless. You know, that there are things in there which may mean nothing to you for decades, but all of a sudden they become meaningful because society has changed. And the last time we spoke, one of the things that I mentioned was slavery. You know, that for years and years and years, we were talking about this slavery thing, and everybody thought it was archaic and ancient and absolutely meaningless. But nowadays, you're closer to a slave than you are to a rat. And you're more than 6 foot away from a rat. So, you know, there's something there that's become meaningful because society has changed. But the principle has always been there, that, you know, the whole idea of the way you treat slaves is the way you treat the most vulnerable people in society, or the least valued people in society. The Bible could have easily said that. You know, treat the least valuable person in society as an equal to yourself. So it gives you an example and uses the example of a slave. But that's just to put some sort of picture in your mind of what it actually is talking about. So there's nothing written there that's archaic. It's only society changing that needs, and the world changing, and the countries that we're ending up in changing, that we need to have different examples of the principles that we follow. But the principles are always timeless.
In Guru Granth Sahib written there, Lakh Akash, Lakh Tal. And now science is investigating all these things. They're finding all these different stars, different things, right? It's actually written in the Guru Granth Sahib, everything. Like even they said in somewhere there's so many skies and so many stars and this and that, and there's lives on there. And now science is investigating all these things, which is already, I think, written in most of religion. Their books written in these things already. I think Quran's written these things as well, and Guru Granth Sahib written as well. And if you Guru Nanak said also about Pavan Pani, something like that, like and the wind, air, about that as well, and as water as well. They're written about water as well, and the sun as well. And these things are already written now as a science, investigating all these things. Actually, it's scientific. They now thinking about these things were written. It's right.
Okay, there's two ways I would have answered that question. One of them is your way as well, which I'll come to in a minute. The first one is what I mentioned in my slides, where we looked at each generation. When it changed and got corrupted, God sent a new book with a new prophet with updated laws. So if we find the Quran is old-fashioned, then then God should be sending a new prophet with a new book. So basically like that, we're waiting for Jesus to come to re-establish the previous law. And we've also been told the Quran is going to stay now until the Day of Judgment. The other way, I think, is very clever, by the way, because that is adapting the Quran to nowadays. So if you look at all the miracles in the Quran, if you look at the fact that it says that fasting is prescribed for you, and people nowadays are now at the moment investigating like the 5-2 diet and finding out, wow, there is so many, benefits. It is like a prescription, it is like a doctor's giving prescription. The bit about the expanding universe, the bit about prayers, all the medical benefits of prayer. The Quran is supposed to be healing, and it's only recently that scientists have found that when you recite the Quran, all the water molecules in your body become whole, and your corpus callosum increases, and all sorts go on. It's really amazing. All that's happening now. So if you can look at the Quran and put it into modern days, then you can do it the other way around as well. Then you can use the Quran for modern days in that way. So even now as I speak, there are more and more scientific evidences taken from the Quran, which scientists are researching, and it's absolutely amazing. Even right down to health benefits of dates, which is what the Prophet told us to eat, and things like that. And that's all modern day stuff. I've joined this very big international organisation. It's a big scientific research academy called the Fatima Elizabeth Academy, and I'm doing lectures for them online. I did actually send a link out. There's an online lecture I'm actually doing it this Sunday. And that's one of the things that they're researching, is they're taking out all the science out of the Quran and investigating it nowadays and finding amazing, amazing facts. The Islam Channel programs that came on were all science and health, and they were all actually based on modern scientific research. All 4 of those programs that I did, that's what it was based on. Science in the Quran, and is it all true? And that was all according to nowadays modern, this year, happening in front of our eyes, which is just absolutely amazing. That's a classic example really to give to people when they say, oh, the Quran's old-fashioned. Because the 5-2 diet is a new thing, and it says in the Quran, fasting is prescribed for you. And everything else, so many scientific research, and it's absolutely amazing. And that's what then makes you realise that that book is written by God. It's not just a man-made book.
But how also the body heals itself during Ramadan?
Pardon?
The body heals itself.
Yes, so many things. I mean, you know, I've done a whole lecture on the health benefits of fasting. I've done a whole lecture on the health benefits of prayer. It's absolutely amazing, it really is.
People are talking about now intermittent fasting now,
Yes.
20 days in a year.
Yes, yes.
And that's a new thing.
Yeah.
I think, you know, all the question whatever question is in people's mind, they can get the answer from the Quran.
Yes.
Any question, answer is there.
And you know what's amazing is any question in your head, just open the Quran and miraculously, I'm not joking, the answer's there. It's like God is listening to you, and He puts the verse there in front of your eyes. Do you know the amount of times that's happened to me, and it spooked me out. Once I was in a circle, this is right at the very beginning, and I was learning about Islam. And I had this question in my mind, and I'd actually asked a lady before I sat down. Anyway, we put this table and there was a scholar talking, well, blow me down. She answered that same question in the middle of that circle, that lady in the tape recorder. Now, if that's not from Allah, then what is? It's things like that that bring you to the religion. Because then, you know, Allah's watching you, and it's amazing. So miracles like that happen a lot, which makes you strong in your religion.
Another thing is, it's like we are told, it's a complete code of life. I mean, religion of Islam, everything is there.
Yes, it is.
In terms of politics, like we were talking about politics and religion. Politics was there when the Prophet ﷺ was there. He was conducting everything from one place.
Yes.
You know? So that's been isolated.
Yeah. Everything is in the Quran, and the biggest thing which I find fascinating is the human nature that was then is still now. It's the same human beings when God made us. It's exactly the same nature, and nature doesn't change, does it? And you know, like I was talking about the peripheral vision and the tunnel vision and our roles and responsibilities in this world, the way God has made our traits fit those, they're still there. No matter how much the environment changes, humans do not change. So the rules for humans chosen by God are also the same throughout time.
I read the leaflet on interest, paying interest, and it made so much sense.
Yes.
And that's one of the things Quran forbids, paying interest, how it corrupts, and countries get into so much debt because of the interest. They never ever can pay back that debt.
All the rules that are there are either as a deterrent to stop us doing bad things, or they're there to better us. Simple as that. Sharia law is there. Yes, it's there. It's harsh. Yes, it is for a reason, because it stops us doing that, doesn't it? Yeah, so, you know, if your hands are going to get chopped off when you steal something, are you going to even steal then? So in countries where Sharia law is there, it doesn't happen in the first place. The crime rate is very, very low. Because there's that fear. Look at schools. I mean, there's teachers in the audience. They'll tell you, in the days when caning was allowed, the children were really well behaved. They listened to their teachers, they respected them. Now we're not even allowed to touch a child, not even allowed to raise our voice towards a child. And now look at what's happening in the world. Children are now against their parents, they're shouting at their parents, they're shouting at their teachers. And what can teachers do at the end of the day?
So yes, like a nuclear bomb, it's like a deterrent, isn't it?
Yes.
Sidra, are you saying that society should be in fear and that's how it should run?
No, not in fear. Basically, religion is not there to put the fear in us. The religion is there as a boundary and a guideline. It's like a guideline. So it's there, it's up to you as an individual whether you want to follow that or not. It's between you and Allah, isn't it? So it's up to you if you want to follow that or not, but nobody should be in fear. Religion is not about fear. Religion is there as a guideline and a boundary, really.
Because I thought that's what you meant when you said that
religion has two things.
To have fear in God is then to live your life according to God's rules. Is that right?
Well, not fear as in you're too scared to even, step forward and things, but I was thinking of more the afterlife. So, for example, say we murder somebody, We're too scared. We are scared to do it because we know that one day we have to answer to God. You see, the afterlife has a big effect on our lives because we think about everything that we do because we know in the end we have to answer to God.
I mean, you said the word deterrent, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Deterrent is to stop you doing something. So I use the example of Sharia law when it says in the Quran if you steal something you get your hands chopped off, and that's actually in the Torah as well, isn't it? So exactly the same in the Torah and in the Old Testament. That's there.
But would you apply
as a
today,
deterrent.
in today's modern society, would you apply that law?
Well, in some countries, yes, there is that law, and it doesn't happen. People don't even go there in the first place because they know that's what's going to happen to them. It actually stops crime. Do you know, if you go to the London dungeons...
So that is a fear, then, just that if they were to do something of that nature, they would have their hands chopped off and then that would be a deterrent. Yes.
Yeah, sort of,
No,
but
no,
it's
yes.
not.
Yes, it must be.
You see, religion's got two things. One of them is an awareness of the consequences of your actions. So the liberal world we live in now doesn't want anyone to have to answer for what they do. So if somebody commits a crime, they go to jail, you've got to give them a coloured telly and a nice phone, and they've got to be able to get in touch with this one and have a nice bed, and crime pays. We have to understand that there are consequences to our actions. And the other thing is, you know, you've been given a body, what to do with. If you're going to abuse your body, you don't need to have it, or you don't deserve to have it. So you know what? We'll take it off you. You know, you kill someone. What do you think you are, God? Who is it that actually turns around to you and says, don't kill? It's not the rest of society. It's the world. The universe has just lost someone that it needs, because this person is unique. This person is the only person that can do whatever it is that they're created for. No, you've killed them. The universe has lost something. You don't have the right to decide for the universe what it needs. That's God's job. So if you're going to start playing God, there's no room for you in the world. People in the world are supposed to be servants of God, not masters of Him, or it. So there are consequences to things that you do, and you have to be aware of what those consequences are. And if those consequences are not very nice, then have the common sense to be frightened of doing it. You know? We're not trying to make you scared. We're trying to say to you, look, there's consequences to everything that you do. You can either be destructive in this world or creative. If you want to be destructive, the world can't. We haven't got enough room for you in the world. We need a creative world. So if you want to do something like that, there's the door. Use it only once. If you want to abuse your body, fine. You'll only abuse it once. And that's what it's there for.
But the laws are made by the state to protect everyone.
Same thing.
And
the old
sending
laws
people,
with the
sending
biblical
people
laws.
to prison is to really to rehabilitate them so they can return back in society. Unless, of course, there are risks to society in which they will stay in prison until a certain time. But I think my question then leads to Sidra, which is in her presentation. On one hand, Sidra says that we have to, or at the end, that we have to live with the law of the land. And then on the other hand, Sidra is saying we have to follow the laws in the Quran and those that have been implemented in Islam. Where is that division, if there is any division?
I don't know about Islam because I'm...
No, I'm sorry, it's the wrong question.
I plead absolute ignorance.
Sidra should answer that.
But what I'll tell you is, in Judaism we have the very same principle, that the law of the land is the law. That applies to anything that is not a spiritual law. Any law which affects your workings with God is separate. So for example, we have our own weddings, because marriages for us is a union with God, not just between two people. And so we want to be able to conduct our own marriages, and therefore our own divorces. We want to be able to slaughter our animals to eat them, because eating is not just a physical thing, it's a spiritual matter. But crime is a purely physical matter, it's a purely between one man and another. The law of the land is the law. As I mentioned before, commerce is a purely material matter, so the law of the land will be the law. So we do have this dichotomy, but it's quite possible for us to live within that dichotomy. But what our emphasis always, you see, we have this problem. We use the word law. Is there such a word in Islam as law? There isn't one in the, you see, there isn't one in Hebrew.
Is law.
Is it law?
Yes.
Because you see, we have something in Judaism called halakha. And everyone will tell you that means Jewish law. That means you've got to do what you're told. And people these days don't like doing what they're told. The word halakha does not mean Jewish law. It means a path. This is the way you ought to live your life. That's what I'm telling you. God made you. He's got the instruction manual. He's telling you how to live your life. So it's quite simple. Physically, you stick your hand in fire, you burn it. So you don't stick your hand in fire. Is that fear? Or is it common sense? Right. So your soul works the same way. If you commit certain acts, you damage your soul. So if you've got any common sense, you won't do it. But nobody's telling you what to do. You're being shown how to live an enjoyable and fulfilling and spiritual life. And again, we are burdened with this terrible English translation of the word law, of we're telling you what to do. And that's why we have so many problems with people wanting to go away from religion, because they think it's restraining and restrictive, and they're being told what to do by this God thing that they don't even understand, can't see, never hear, never helps them, never does it. God never does anything good for anybody, but by God does he do bad, you know? And that's why everybody turns to God when bad things happen. When good things happen, they straight away open the champagne, you know? You don't say thank God, they straight away to the champagne and they get drunk because you know, they forget to thank God. And it's this idea that religion is like that we have to grapple with. It's this reputation we give religion, that it's archaic and it's old and it's restrictive and it tells you what to do all the time. I don't feel like that. My religion soon happens in my life. If only everybody else could understand that, it'd be brilliant. But that's and so the deterrent bit is not threatening you. It's saying to you, look, if you want your car to run properly, put petrol in it, not diesel. I'm not threatening you, but I'm promising you, you'll only get 200 yards up the road, then you're bang in trouble. And we're exactly the same thing. God made us. He gives us our instruction manual. He knows how we work, physically and emotionally and spiritually. And if we live the way we're told to, you know, we will be a healthy machine all the time. People don't understand that. They don't get it. Or else they don't want to get it. Because they'd rather, you know, man would rather think he knows himself. Thanks very much. It is not a weakness to turn around to somebody and say, I was made by God, he knows how I work properly. Nobody's ever said, I'm not listening to the doctor, he's told me I'm diabetic, I'm not allowed to eat chocolate. Forget that one for a lark. Yeah, you'll forget it until all of a sudden you're so ill, it's too late. We're going to blame the doctor. Yeah. You work in a certain way, and you have to live in a certain way. But if you do it with joy and pleasure, you have a wonderful life. So does Islam have this word of law?
Well, it's just Sharia.
Or is it just
Sharia?
It's just saying Sharia.
Yes.
What does Sharia mean actually?
It means.
I know you can't translate, but what's it actually?
Islamic law.
Islamic law is
It's
just
origins
from
the
Islamic
Quran
law is called Sharia, but what does the word Sharia mean?
What does it mean?
What's the translation of the word Sharia?
law.
Law.
Is it law?
Yes.
Yeah, well, Islamic law.
Or can I suggest it comes from the same as the Hebrew word yashar, which is straight,
Its origins.
which is the right thing to do.
Origins are from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the origin.
But what's the translation of the word?
That is the translation, Islamic
That
law.
is just the translation. That is
Law?
what it is. Yeah.
I've got a
Shall we
question
finish
to
it?
everybody.
Oh.
Very quick
Very,
question.
very quick
Please, we've got to finish now, it's really late.
Is anybody here to drive 150 miles per hour on a 30-mile limit? Is anybody there to drive a car at 150 miles per hour on a 30-mile limit? No, why not?
It's not safe.
Why not safe?
Because the law says
The law says it isn't.
It's a deterrent. 30 miles is a deterrent. It's there. If you go beyond 150 miles, 40 miles, then you're going to get a ticket or something. That is just to deter you to stop there and get.
What you get
Whatever laws are there for our own benefit, basically. Whatever's in the Quran is there for our own benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't drive 150.
No.
That's just an example
It's a
giving.
deterrent.
It's a good one.
CPR training.
Yes.
Next Sunday, there's training coming up this Sunday, a training for CPR, life-saving skills, and also about wounds and bleeding control is here at 1:45 after the Hosala. All the men are invited to come, and women will be a fortnight later. So we're having an event, CPR training, which is useful for everybody. And it's free food as well, and also you get certificates as well. And I'd like to thank the panel, and they've taken a lot of questions. Time's marching on, so let's show appreciation for their hard work.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much.